By the end of the week, I'm left confronting the aftermath of my choices. The engagement ring sits on the counter in my sister's apartment, its gleaming surface mocking me. I thought I could have everything: the fun, the freedom, and the future I envisioned with Frank. But life doesn't work that way. Every decision comes with consequences, and now I'm facing the cost. Hey, this is Frank! Janet's voice echoes through the kitchen, a mix of excitement and frustration. She leans against the counter with her arms crossed, her fingers tapping on her bicep. It's just one weekend, Frank. Miami isn't some forbidden place. I let out a sharp breath and set my coffee mug down with a small clink. It's not about Miami, Janet. It's what happens there. Clubs, bottle service, your single friends acting like they're 21 again. You think I don't know how bachelorette parties go? Her eyes narrow. Do you think I'm going to cheat on you? Is that what you're implying? I'm not saying that, I answer calmly, but my words carry weight. I'm saying I know Jessica and her group. They're not exactly the kind of people who set a good example for someone who's engaged. They'll push you into doing things you normally wouldn't. Janet scoffs and rolls her eyes. You've always had a problem with Jessica. She's my best friend, Frank. This isn't about her or her decisions. It's about me wanting one weekend to celebrate with her. I cross my arms, leaning back. Celebrate what? Bad decisions? You've told me yourself about how she cheated on her fiancé, and now she's acting like a saint by throwing herself a party. You really think I'll be fine with you jumping headfirst into that mess? She shifts, her frustration bubbling to the surface. It's harmless. We'll dance, have some drinks, maybe hit the beach. Why do you always turn everything into some disaster scenario? Because I've seen this before, I snap, my calm slipping. Your friends don't respect boundaries. Remember that night out with Sarah and Megan? You told me they tried to get you to flirt with some guy at the bar for fun. Now you want me to believe this trip will be different? It was a joke. Her voice rises, her face flushing. I didn't even go along with it. But you didn't shut it down either, did you? I counter. The silence that follows my question speaks louder than anything she could have said. Janet, we're supposed to be a team. I'm not trying to control you, but I can't ignore the pattern. Every time you're with them, it's like I don't exist. Her shoulders drop slightly, but her defiant gaze remains. I work all week, keep the house together, and hardly ever go out. I deserve this one weekend, that's all I'm asking. You deserve a lot of things, I say, my tone softening though the tension remains. But not at the expense of our relationship. You know how much this bothers me, and yet you're standing firm like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, she exclaims, throwing her hands up. You're blowing this out of proportion. I'm not going to do anything stupid. I love you, and I'm coming back to you. Why can't you trust me? It's not about trust, Janet, I reply, taking a deep breath to stay composed. It's about respect. For us, for what we're building. I pause. If the roles were reversed, would you be okay with me flying to Vegas with a group of guys who act like they're still in college? Her lips press into a thin line, her eyes darting away for just a moment. It's the answer she doesn't want to give but knows is there. This isn't about you. It's about me needing space to breathe. You're turning it into something it's not and ignoring how I feel. I respond firmly. This isn't just about you, Janet. It's about us. A marriage isn't about one person doing whatever they want and expecting the other to just accept it. Her voice lowers, but the sharpness is still there. I never thought I'd be marrying someone so controlling. The word hits like a punch to the gut. Control? I say, my jaw tightening. You think me caring about our relationship is controlling? Maybe you should take a step back and think about what really matters here. She stares at me, her eyes filled with unspoken frustration. Fine, she says, her voice curt. If you want to play the martyr, go ahead, but I'm going to this party, Frank, whether you like it or not. Her tone leaves no room for discussion. I stand still, my hands resting on the back of the chair, the wood creaking under the pressure. My mind races with things I want to say, but the words feel pointless. She's already made up her mind, and all that's left is the gnawing unease in my chest. She storms out, the bedroom door slamming shut with a force that shakes the walls. I glance at the clock, its second hand ticking with mocking rhythm. How did we get here? I sink into the chair, the silence pressing in. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Later, I hear Janet's voice again, the argument replaying in my head, each word cutting deeper. Frank's disapproval is heavy in the room, even though we haven't spoken since last night. He's made it clear that Miami is a bad idea. The clubs, the drinking, the single friends. It's all wrong for someone who's engaged. But the way he said it, like I couldn't make my own decisions, That stings. Sure, he didn't outright say I couldn't go, but his tone left no room for compromise. It was more like an order than a conversation. I decide to ignore him. If he wants to be stubborn, I can be too. I move through the house, avoiding his gaze, letting the distance between us grow. Beneath my frustration, I feel guilt eating at me, but I bury it deep. This isn't about him. It's about me needing a break. Jessica's bachelorette weekend in Miami is my chance to let go, to be something other than Frank's fiance for a couple of days. It's not about the clubs or the drinks. It's about being with friends, celebrating Jessica's milestone. And yes, having fun. Is that really so wrong? The day of the trip arrives, the weight of it building slowly. Frank is in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone. The air between us is still stiff with unspoken words. I take a deep breath, slinging my overnight bag over my shoulder, and walk in. I'm leaving for Miami, I say steadily, making no apologies. It's not a request. He glances up, his expression unreadable, but I don't flinch. You're really doing this? He asks, his voice low and sharp. Yes, I reply, my voice firm. Jessica's my best friend, and I'm not missing her bachelorette party just because you don't like the idea. He exhales slowly, shaking his head. Fine, do what you want. His words are both permission and dismissal in one, and I feel a tightness in my chest, but I don't let it show. I turn and walk out the door, each step feeling heavier than the last. Miami is everything I imagined and more. The city pulses with energy, the air thick with the scent of salt and nightlife. Our first night is a whirlwind. Dinner at a rooftop restaurant with the city sprawling beneath us like a glittering sea. The laughter flows as freely as the wine, and for the first time in weeks, I feel lighter. Later, we hit a club, the bass thumping in my chest as we weave through the crowd. I stay close to Jessica at first, nursing a single drink and observing the chaos around me. But as the night continues, I let myself immerse in the atmosphere. Chloe pulls me to the dance floor, her excitement contagious. Come on, Janet. You're not sitting this one out. I hesitate, glancing at the others. Jessica waves me off with a grin. Go have fun. The music takes over, the rhythm pulsing through my veins. For a moment, it feels like I've shed the weight of everything. Frank, the argument, the expectations. I let myself move, laughter bubbling up from deep inside. Drinks appear and disappear, handed off by bartenders and friends alike. The night blurs into neon lights, pounding music, and shared laughter. At one point, Jessica pulls me into a VIP booth. A bottle of champagne sparkles between us. This is what it's all about, she says, leaning in close to be heard over the music. No stress, no guilt, just us. Her words strike a chord, though I push down the nagging voice in my mind. Frank's disapproval, his frustration, they don't belong here. For once, I tell myself, I deserve this. The night stretches on, wild and carefree. The consequences are like shadows at the edge of my thoughts, but right now, under the lights, they don't matter. The music and laughter blur together, but I refuse to let myself care. The silence in the house is unbearable. Every tick of the clock feels like it's digging into my patience, marking the hours since Janet left. I should have gone out, found something to occupy my mind, but instead, I stayed. Anger keeps me planted here, but worry gnaws at me, though I refuse to voice it. She said this trip was about celebrating Jessica, about marking her best friend's milestone. But I know how her friends operate. They'll pull her into their wild, carefree world, and now she's right there with them in Miami, of all places. A playground for chaos. I stare at my phone, hoping for a text, a call, any sign of what's going on. But nothing. I hate how much I care, how much I want her to prove me wrong. But a darker thought keeps creeping in, whispering, what if you're right? The call comes on Sunday afternoon, slicing through my swirling thoughts. The name on the screen catches me off guard. Robert, Jessica's fiancé, the laid-back guy who always seems just a step away from cracking a joke. Hey, Robert, I answer, unsure of what's coming next. His voice is strained, a mix of anger and something heavier. Frank, man, I'm sorry to spring this on you, but you need to know what happened in Miami. My stomach tightens. What happened? There's no easy way to say this, he begins, hesitating, searching for the right words. I had someone keeping an eye on things. On Jessica, mostly. I didn't trust her friends and, well, let's just say the report isn't good. What do you mean? What report? My voice sharpens, the tension pulling my shoulders tight. I'll send you the file, he says, but brace yourself, Frank. It's bad. All 7 of them didn't hold back. My breath catches. What do you mean, didn't hold back? There were clubs, private rooms, guys. Look, it's all in the report. Photos, videos, explicit stuff. His voice drops, dripping with disgust. Janet's in there, too. The words hit like a sledgehammer. For a moment, the room spins, and I grip the counter to steady myself. Send it. And thanks for letting me know, I managed to say, my voice hoarse. A ping announces the arrival of the link. I hover over my phone, hesitating before finally opening it. The first image is blurry, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Janet, arm in arm with her friends, laughing as they enter a club. The next few photos blur together, shots of the group dancing, drinks in hand, the neon lights painting their faces in harsh colors. Then it gets worse, much worse. Private rooms, strangers, actions I can't unsee, no matter how much I wish I could. My chest tightens, my breathing shallow as I scroll through the evidence. Each image, each clip feels like a dagger twisting deeper. I slam the phone down, the screen going dark. My mind races, a chaotic mix of anger, disbelief, and humiliation. How could she do this? How could they? We hang up and I'm left alone with my thoughts. The weight of what I've seen presses down on me like a storm cloud. The rest of the day blurs by. I don't eat, I don't move. The images replay in my mind, each one more damning than the last. Every laugh we shared, every promise she made, it all feels like a lie now. By the time night falls, anger has taken root, burning away any trace of doubt or denial. I'm not waiting for her to explain. The evidence is clear. I sit in the dim light of the living room, the clock ticking relentlessly. The house feels colder, emptier, like it's already preparing for what's to come. This isn't just about the trip anymore. It's about everything. Her judgment, her choices, her ability to respect what we have. The ride back from the airport is dead silent, except for the faint hum of the car engine. Nobody says a word. The tension is thick, choking even the air we breathe. Jessica's been crying since Robert called her on the last night of the trip. The rest of us sit stiff and pale, checking our phones every few minutes, waiting for the fallout to hit us too. It all fell apart so fast. One phone call from Robert to Jessica, and suddenly her carefree laughter disappeared. She stormed out of the hotel room, shouting into her phone, insisting it wasn't what it seemed. But Robert didn't believe her, and the next morning, she admitted to us that he'd hired someone to follow us. There were photos, videos, and God knows what else. Panic spread through the group like wildfire. Jenny's husband called her, yelling loud enough for all of us to hear. Kathy started crying, saying her boyfriend would never forgive her. Even Carol, who was single, looked rattled, muttering about how this could ruin her reputation. And me? I couldn't speak, I couldn't move. I sat frozen, staring at my phone, imagining Frank seeing the same damning evidence Robert now had. My stomach churned and guilt clawed at my chest. By the time I stand in front of the door to our house, it's dusk. The streetlights cast long shadows across the driveway. I hesitate, the weight of the suitcase heavy in my hand. The trip was supposed to be a fun escape, harmless. But now, standing here, it feels like walking into a lion's den. I fumble for my key, trying to unlock the door, but it won't budge. Confused, I jiggle it again, harder this time. Still nothing. That's when it hits me. The locks have been changed. My stomach drops. I press the doorbell, heart pounding, and wait. No answer. I try calling Frank, but it goes straight to voicemail, again and again. I call until I'm staring at the call failed screen, my hands trembling. He's blocked me. The realization hits me like a cold wave. He knows. He's seen everything, and this is his answer. I sink onto the front steps, the suitcase at my side. Staring at the darkened house, memories flood back unbidden. Frank cooking dinner, humming off key. The way he tucked me in when I fell asleep on the couch. The nights we'd sit on the porch, talking about our future. All of it feels unreachable now, locked behind a door I can't open. For the first time in years, I feel utterly lost, like I did when I was 13, staring at my older sister's tear-streaked face as she told me our parents wouldn't be coming back. That same sense of helplessness grips me now, and I want nothing more than to wake up and find it was all a nightmare. But this is real. A ping from my phone startles me. It's a voice note from Frank. Hand shaking, I press play. His voice is cold, distant, nothing like the man I thought I knew. Janet, I've seen everything. The photos, the videos. I don't even recognize the person in them. You didn't just betray me. You humiliated me. You made a mockery of everything we built. I can't move past this and I won't try. The engagement is off. Don't contact me again. The note ends, leaving a hollow silence in its wake. I sit there staring at the screen, unable to process what I've just heard. The engagement is off. Those 4 words echo in my mind, each one striking like a hammer. Desperate, I call my sister. She answers on the second ring. Janet, what's wrong? The words spill out before I can stop them, about the trip, the photos, the locks, Frank's message. By the time I finish, I'm sobbing so hard I can barely breathe. There's a long pause, then my sister's voice cuts through the static. Janet, what were you thinking? How could you do something so reckless, so stupid? I didn't mean for this to happen, I whisper, choking on the words. You didn't mean to, she snaps. Janet, you're not a teenager. You're engaged. This isn't some college party. This is your life, and now you've ruined it. You have no one to blame but yourself. Her words sting, but they aren't wrong. The next few days blur in a haze of desperation. I leave voicemails, send texts, even show up outside Frank's office. But he doesn't respond. Each attempt at reconciliation is met with silence, a cold reminder of the bridge I've burned. I want to explain that I never meant to hurt him, but even I know that doesn't matter. Intentions don't count when the damage is this severe. By the weekend, I'm staring at the wreckage of my decisions. The engagement ring sits on the counter at my sister's apartment, its shine mocking me. I thought I could have it all, the fun, the freedom, and the future I dreamed of with Frank. But life doesn't work that way. Choices have consequences, and now I'm paying the price, alone.